It was a gray afternoon, one of those that seems to stretch on forever, where the sun barely filters through heavy clouds and everything feels dull, almost sickly. The Martínez family had decided to do a deep clean of their new house, a red brick structure with leaky ceilings and creaky hallways. They'd only lived there for 2 weeks, but they were already tired of the constant echoes and that lingering sensation that something, or someone, was watching them from the shadows. Mariana, the mother, had gone up to the attic alone while her husband Ramon and their 8-year-old son Sebastián sorted through the boxes piled up in the garage. Mariana had always been the bravest of the three. While others flinched at the sound of a creaking door, she would simply oil the hinges without a second thought. But this time, something in the attic air made her hesitate before opening the first box. There was an odd dampness up there, a chill that didn't match the rest of the house. The floorboards groaned under her feet, and the dust hung in the air like fog. She found a yellowing cardboard box, its corners bent in a handwritten label that read, "Old Family Movies." She didn't remember bringing it from their old house, but didn't think too much of it either. Maybe Ramon had packed it without telling her. Inside were several VHS tapes, all labeled with dates and names that had faded with time. One of them, however, stood out. It was different, wrapped in worn brown paper and tied with a thin string, as if someone had wanted to make sure no one opened it by accident. On the top, written in smudged black ink, it read, "Do not watch." 1981. Mariana frowned. 1981, that was long before she or Ramon had even met, before either of them had been born. What the hell was a tape that old doing in their house? For a moment, she considered putting it back in the box and forgetting about it. But curiosity won out. She took the tape, ran downstairs, and grabbed the old VCR they'd found in the basement. The living room was dim, lit only by the bluish glow of the television. Mariana pressed play and sat on the couch, expecting grainy footage or maybe a stranger's family party. But what appeared on the screen was something entirely unexpected. At first, there was only static, a high-pitched white noise filling the room. Then, slowly, images began to form. It was a child's bedroom, decorated with murals of animals in pastel colors. A small wooden train sat on the floor, next to a pile of building blocks. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. In the center of the frame, standing in front of the camera, was a child. Mariana froze. It was Sebastián. There was no doubt. Same slightly wavy dark hair, same big brown eyes, same favorite t-shirt he'd worn just the day before. But that was impossible. Sebastián was 8 years old in 2023. The tape was dated 1981, 13 years before he was born. The boy on the screen looked straight into the camera, as if he knew someone was watching. His expression was neutral, almost blank, but something in his eyes was deeply unsettling. He looked lost, as if he didn't belong in that place or time. Suddenly, the video shifted. The camera panned to the window, showing an overgrown backyard. But what really made Mariana jump off the couch was what she saw reflected in the glass. Behind the boy, standing right in the doorway, was a tall, thin figure dressed in a worn black suit. Its face was a blurry smudge, but its eyes glowed like burning coals. Mariana turned off the TV immediately, heart pounding. She told herself it had to be a prank, some poorly made edit or an eerie coincidence. But she knew it wasn't. There was something deeply wrong with that tape, something she couldn't explain. When Ramon and Sebastián came back inside, Mariana was still standing in front of the TV, tape in hand. She told them what she'd seen, leaving out a few details to avoid scaring them too much. Ramon, ever the pragmatist, dismissed it right away. "It's probably just a coincidence," he said with a shrug. "Maybe someone left it here as a bad joke." You know how neighbors can be. But Sebastián didn't say a word. He just stared at the tape in his mother's hand. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "Mom, I dreamed about that room last night." Mariana felt a chill down her spine. "What do you mean?" "I saw the same room in my dream," he said, pointing to the TV. "And there was someone else there. I couldn't see them clearly. I just felt them watching me." Ramon scoffed, visibly uncomfortable. "This is ridiculous. Probably saw an old photo or something and your brain turned it into a dream. Stop worrying, Mariana. It's nothing." But Mariana wasn't convinced. She started digging. She searched online for any information about the house, trying to find out who had lived there before. After hours of fruitless research, she found something that froze her blood. According to public records, the house had been abandoned for decades until 1995, when it was bought by a young couple. No one had lived there in 1981. That night, Mariana couldn't sleep. The images from the tape kept replaying in her mind. Eventually, unable to resist, she snuck downstairs and reinserted the tape into the VCR. This time, she noticed things she'd missed before. The figure in the window wasn't the only anomaly. As the video played, small details began to change. The toys on the floor shifted positions without explanation. The mural on the wall seemed to move slightly, like the painted animals were coming to life. And then there was the sound. At first, it was just the ambient noise of an old recording, creaking wood, the camera's motor hum. But then, just before the dark figure appeared in the window, something else emerged. A voice, faint and distorted, whispering words Mariana couldn't understand. She rewound the tape and played it again, this time turning the volume all the way up. And this time, she made out a single, chilling phrase, "Come with me." Mariana gasped and hit stop. From that moment on, things got worse. Sebastián began to have recurring nightmares, always about that same room. In his dreams, the dark figure came closer each time, reaching out to him. Ramon, though still skeptical, couldn't deny the changes in his son. Sebastián was pale, distracted, and started talking about things that made no sense. One night, as everyone slept, Mariana heard a noise coming from the attic. She climbed the stairs with a flashlight, terrified but determined. When she reached the attic, she found the box where she discovered the tape, now open, with more items inside. Old photos, documents, and a journal. The journal belonged to a woman named Elena, who described how her young son began acting strangely after they moved into the house. He claimed to see someone in his room, someone who called his name. One day, the boy vanished without a trace. Mariana felt sick to her stomach. She knew she had to stop whatever this was, before it was too late. Mariana ran downstairs with Elena's journal in her hands, heart racing. Ramon was in the kitchen making coffee when she burst in. "We have to leave this house," she shouted, dropping the journal on the table. "What the hell now?" "That tape again?" he asked, annoyed. "It's not just the tape," she said, pointing at the notebook. "This belonged to someone who lived here decades ago. Her son disappeared. And Sebastián is seeing the exact same things." Ramon skimmed the journal. As he read, his expression shifted from skeptical to deeply concerned. Elena had written about her son speaking to someone invisible, drawing shadowy figures on the walls, and eventually vanishing. She even mentioned a VHS tape, as if it were part of some ritual. "This can't be real," Ramon muttered, closing the journal. But his eyes betrayed his fear. That night, they decided to watch the tape one last time, together. They turned on all the lights and set the VCR in front of the TV. Sebastián was asleep upstairs, or so they thought. When the screen lit up, the opening scene was the same. But this time, the shadow wasn't just a reflection. It was fully in the room, standing behind the child. The camera zoomed in. The figure was tall, extremely thin, dressed in a decaying black suit. Its face still blurred, but its eyes burned with unnatural light. It reached toward the camera, and then the screen turned to static. In the static, a distorted voice began to speak. It was clear this time, like it was in the room. "I have him," the voice whispered. "They will come for him." Before they could react, the screen went black. Then, from the TV, came a scraping sound, as if something were clawing at it from inside. Then a sharp click, and the tape was ejected. The next day, the atmosphere in the house had shifted. Everything felt heavy, as though the walls were closing in. Sebastián spoke little, and when he did, his words were strange. "Mom, why does he keep calling me?" he asked over breakfast. "He says he needs me." Mariana nearly dropped her coffee. "Who's calling you, Sebastián?" He didn't answer. Just stared out the window. Ramon called a paranormal expert, a man named Emilio, who arrived that afternoon with a suitcase full of strange gadgets, infrared cameras, audio recorders, and EMF meters. "This place is full of residual energy," Emilio said after a quick inspection. "Something powerful is here." They installed cameras and mics in every room. Emilio asked them to play the VHS again, this time wired into his equipment. Reluctantly, they agreed. This time, instead of showing the nursery, the screen displayed their own house, but as it looked in 1981. Same dining room, now dusty and filled with cobwebs. And there, in the middle, was Sebastián, walking slowly toward the camera. Suddenly, the boy was dragged away by the dark figure, toward a door that didn't exist in their real house. The final image, Sebastián's face, screaming silently as he vanished. One of Emilio's attic cameras caught a tall, thin shadow moving among the boxes. Even more chilling was the audio, a child's voice, soft but clear, "I don't want to go." Emilio explained his theory: the house was a temporal hotspot. The VHS wasn't just a recording, it was a portal between times. The boy on the tape wasn't Sebastián exactly, but an alternate version of him, trapped in 1981. The shadow figure was an entity that fed on children lost in time. "It's like someone borrowed him," Emilio said. "And now they want him back." Burning the tape might close the portal, but Emilio warned it could also unleash something worse. They decided to try. That night, they took the tape to the backyard and set it on fire. As the flames consumed it, a high-pitched scream echoed through the house. The windows shook, and then, silence. Inside, Sebastián began to scream. They rushed to his room. Shadows swirled around him, moving on their own. The dark figure was there, visible even in daylight. It reached out, and Sebastián began to float toward it, pulled by some invisible force. Mariana and Ramon grabbed him, but couldn't hold him. Then Mariana remembered a name from Elena's journal, Ismael. She screamed the name with all her strength. The figure froze. For a moment, it hesitated, then vanished in a cloud of black smoke. Sebastián dropped to the floor, gasping. The shadows vanished. The house fell still, like nothing had ever happened. The next morning, the family packed up and left the house forever. They never found out who Ismael was, or why the name had worked. They didn't want to. They sold the property to a demolition company. It was reduced to rubble in days. Sebastián never had another nightmare. But sometimes, when he was alone, he swore he could still hear a faint voice whispering his name from far away. And somewhere, deep in a forgotten landfill, the charred remains of the VHS tape still hold pieces of a story no one was ever meant to see.